Hello and welcome to the Everyday Tarot Podcast, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door, and today I'm talking about tarot and bees. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you weren't able to attend my live tarot card creation workshop or didn't register in time, you can go ahead and get the full package, which includes the hour-long recording, my step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you all through it for just $33. The link will be in the show notes to purchase that. I'm also going to be offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course this summer. If you're interested, you can sign up in the show notes for more information. I just updated my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever, so if you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast during my new moon collective tarot readings, which I just did one of yesterday on July 24th, 2025. So you can check out my Instagram or YouTube or my newsletter or Facebook to find that recording. It was about an hour long where I did a collective tarot card pull and walked you through everything that I see as being associated with the new moon in Leo that we just had. If you become a Patreon, I will pull a card for every one of my Patreons after I do that live collective reading. So if you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can also get an individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. And if you just want that one card pulled for you a month on the podcast, you can join at the Lovers level, which is $6 a month. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, you can join me at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. As this goes out, we will have just had one on July 27th, a social meetup. So our next one will probably be a crafting event. So go to the meetup page and join the group, and if you do so, then you'll get email notifications about when the next posting goes up. I need to take a look at some libraries and get one of them booked so we can do some more crafting together for our next event. And if you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, my lovely listeners, at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. And if you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing clients virtually from my home office in Sumner. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. So if you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-efficacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, and welcome to season 12, where I'm talking all about tarot and animals. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics. In seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and the 4 suits. In season 4, I talked tarot and pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. Season 6, 7, 8, and 9, I went through the suit of wands, pentacles, swords, and cups. Season 10 was all about tarot and witchcraft, and season 11 was tarot and plant allies. And like I said, we are here now in season 12 talking all about tarot and animals, and today I'm talking about tarot and bees. So I'll go through a description of each animal, the symbolism, different magic associated with it, and then the animal's relation to the tarot. All right, so a description. Let me pull that up real quick. But they're all different kinds of bees. They are winged insects that come from the Anthophilia, within the superfamily of Apodia of the order Hymenoptera. This is that order, kingdom, order, phylum that you might have learned when you were in school. There's different kinds of bees. There's honeybees, bumblebees, stingless bees, but generally they are all social insects. They live in highly hierarchical colonies, while a lot of species, actually most of them, are mason bees, carpenter bees, leafcutter bees, and sweat bees are actually solitary. So we generally, when we talk about bees, a lot of the discussion is around honeybees, which come from Europe. They've been brought all over the world and they create honey that we as humans love to harvest. But actually, there are way more species of bees than that, and they are solitary. So when we think of that like hive mind, or when we think of, oh, honeybees are so great, like they are great and they can serve a purpose, but also they are not native to most of the world. And so there are a lot of native bees actually, and a lot of bees that live in the ground or are solitary. And those are actually way more common, even though we know, I would say, at least in Western culture, a lot more about honeybees. And again, honeybees are known to construct hexagonally celled waxy nests called hives, right? This is, again, what we think of as bees. Bees are herbivores. They specifically feed on nectar and pollen, whereas other things like wasps or ants, which they are closely related to, are more carnivorous and omnivorous. So again, right, if you're ever sitting down for dinner outside and you have flying critters coming to bother you because you're eating meat or things with, like wasps or yellow jackets that are attracted to the food, those are not those aren't bees generally, because bees are herbivores. They wouldn't really be interested in your burger or your whatever you're eating outside. And again, like a lot of the types of bees we talk about are honeybees. There is also this misconception, at least in the US, that, oh, we have to save the bees, which means honeybees, because they're going extinct. That's not true. Honeybees are doing just fine because they are so cultivated by humans. There's a lot of other bees, a lot of native bees to your area that actually are endangered or are not doing well. So those are the bees that we're really talking about when we're talking about saving the bees. So that's sort of this misconception, again, with human beekeeping and like apiaries or apiculture. It's been practiced for a very long time, right? It's basically a type of farming that humans have done, at least since ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. Like we have evidence of that. Bees have also appeared in mythology and folklore for, again, millennia, a long time. But again, primarily what is focused on is like northern hemisphere, where beekeeping is more common. But also in Mesoamerica, the Mayans practiced large-scale intensive like bee culture, melioponic culture, since pre-Columbus times. So again, like humans have been practicing this, basically farming, keeping bees as almost livestock for a very long time. Because again, we love sugar, right? And for a long time, we didn't have access to sugar cane all over the world, right? The things that we think of as sugar now, that are so easy to find generally all over the world, comes from a plant, and generally comes from a very specific area and has to be created into the form that we see it today. Whereas honey, again, like while we, sort of farmed honeybees to cultivate honey in a way that's easy for humans to access, like honey has been available for a much longer time to more people than sugarcane. In other places, right, there's maple syrup or there's other types of sweeteners. There's lots of fruit, but again, just the idea of what is very normal today of sugarcane and is pretty easy to get at any grocery store or even like convenience store was a lot less common before that. Okay, so that's sort of bees, right? We're in our animal description. Again, there's different kinds of bees. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, they go to flowers generally. That's when you see them. There's different kinds of bees that pollinate different kinds of plants and flowers. Also wasps, which are not bees, but they also pollinate things, which is a misconception. Like I know figs, I'm pretty sure are something that's only pollinated by wasps. There's also bats and moths that pollinate things. So bees aren't the only one. But again, because humans have been beekeeping for a long time and we really like honey, that is sort of the type of bee that we often get very focused on. Let's see, what else do I want to share with that? I think that we'll stop there for now. They are similar to wasps. They are in a closely related family, right? They have like antenna. They kind of can look similar. They have wings. The females look different than the males, things like that. But I'm not going to get too much into all of that because there's just a lot of different types of bee things to talk about. So let's talk about bees as animal magic or symbolism. So on my new favorite blog, Parting the Mists, we're going to talk about a bee card, which comes from the Druid Animal Oracle by authors Philip and Stephanie Carr-Gomm and artist Will Worthington. I'll have that linked in the show notes and on my website if you want to find it. And so, yeah, I'll talk about that card a little bit. So they have a bee card in this deck, talking about community, celebration, and organization. And again, keep in mind as we talk about this that we're probably thinking about honeybees when we talk about symbolism related to bees. So obviously that doesn't encompass all bees, but it says the card shows a queen bee resting on a stone. In the background, we see the house of mead circling at Tara as it may have looked at the height of its powers. In the sky, the noonday sun shines brightly and we see heather growing by the rock that is carved with the ogum. So this is like a symbol here. Bees or beach invite us to celebrate. You may have special reason for celebration, or you may simply need to celebrate the wonder of being alive. You may like to enjoy a glass or two of mead, which, if it has been made in Scotland, will carry the scent of heather and will bring you closer to the spirit of the Highlands. In the Druid tradition, there are occasions to celebrate every 6 weeks or so. As human beings, we need to have times when we can come together to enjoy each other's company, and the bee tells us that we can live together in harmony, however impossible as this may sometimes seem. By being at one with the natural world, by paying homage to the sun, by centering our lives around the spirit or the goddess, we can work together in community. It says this card might also indicate you're feeling out of place or unsure about your role in the world. A beehive functions harmoniously because each bee knows its role and the work it must do. Consequently, it is highly productive and plays an important role in the local ecology. We talk of a productive work environment as a hive of activity. If you are lacking in motivation or are feeling isolated from the community that surrounds you, you may need some bee medicine. A modern English folk healer uses bee stings therapeutically to cure asthma and other ailments, and you may need to prod yourself into action before others do the prodding for you. If you find this applies to you, spend some time thinking about your role in life and then make decisions in accordance with your sense of purpose and the resulting goals that this engenders. Remember that the bee knows the value of organization, of paying homage to the goddess and the sun, and of working hard. Remember, too, that she calls us on a celebration of life and an inner recognition of our membership of the community of all nature. So again, we have the symbolism of the bee. We talk about the druid and sort of the like local symbolism in Scotland. And again, mead is like alcohol that's made from honey by fermenting honey, just like we do with lots of other things that we make into alcohol. But again, as I read that, right, like they're really talking about honeybees for a lot of it, right? If we think about living in harmony, or that every bee has its own job and role, like that is a lot more of how honeybees work and not necessarily other types of bees, but that's okay. I also wanted to bring up that on the So the Magic site, they are often affiliating an animal or a plant with their seeds or greeting cards that they create on there. So they have the Empress Bee Botanical Tarot Greeting Card, and it says the Empress is the essence of divine feminine energy. She surrounds herself with natural beauty and draws a wholly realized sense of peace directly from Mother Nature. This stunning annual, so again, this is like a plant that they are selling here. It bears lavender blue flowers with curved spikes that put on a stunning garden show while attracting many species of life-giving bees. Often used as a cover crop, this plant's common name is a translation of Bienenfreund, German for bee's friend. So the key meanings behind this are feminine beauty, return to nature, creativity, and abundance. And I would say that sort of seems in line with the other sort of definition or symbolism that we talked about with bees. I was going to try to look up exactly what this plant is. Phacelia tenancetifolia. Yeah, it's in the borage family. I think that's the one they're talking about. Yes. So it has like small purple flowers. It's also known as purple tansy or blue tansy. I don't think I've seen this before, this particular plant. Maybe. Anyway, so that's the seeds that they're selling on the So the Magic site, but that's what they affiliate with the bee. And again, some of that is because the bees like it and go to it, that plant. There's also plants called bee balm, monarda, which is something that I grow in my garden, and there's different colors and kinds. So there's like a redder version. There's also a more like lavendery purple version. Yeah, and sometimes it's called wild bergamot, but that is a favorite of multiple kinds of bees, at least where I live. All right, so I couldn't find any particular cards that were associated with bees, like symbolically. I did see that sometimes the high priestess is represented by a honeycomb, which is sort of interesting. Again, that would be hearkening back to honeybees. There are lots of bee tarot decks, but I didn't see anything in particular about symbolism. I guess I did see somewhere that bees were a symbol of Hecate, the goddess, or sort of like all-encompassing mother, triple goddess. But again, not necessarily with a particular card. So I went through my tarot decks and found 3 different decks that have bees on 3 different cards. So I figured we could explore those. So the first one that I pulled was the Ace of Pentacles from the Sassorabito Tarot deck by Stasia Burrington. It depicts like a young girl or adolescent. She has a pentacle coin sort of on her forehead. Her eyes are like pointed down, like, or her eyes are closed. She has these beautiful like roses or peonies, flowers in her hair, and then we see multiple bees, one on the flower and another one buzzing around on here. And again, if we think of pentacles, pentacles are about the material realm. They're about abundance or wealth, prosperity. And so I do feel like bees, even though they fly around, right? Bees are, in other ways, yes, it's the symbol of like abundance or working together in collaboration. So I'm going to read from the Tarot Deck Guidebook about this Ace of Pentacles card. It says, again, prosperity, practicality, and the physical world. The promise of physical prosperity. The Ace of Pentacles represents a seed that has been planted, which will result in tangible security. This card recommends foundation building, setting the stage for good things to come in your future. Growth, prosperity, nature, being down to earth. This isn't a card about daydreaming and fantasy. It is a card for doing. Do something today for your future self, and he or she will thank you. Be it doing something good for your body, feeding your mind, investing, or building something physical. This is a good card for business and entrepreneurship. So again, pentacles are about the earth, material prosperity, groundedness, sometimes again wealth or like things, tangible objects. So again, like building or grounding, walking around barefoot, doing things good for your body, like feeding and celebrating the body as well is definitely a big part of this. All right, the next card that I found that has bees on it is the Three of Pentacles from the Anima Mundi deck by Megan Wyrowenden. I could only think of her Instagram name, which is the Creeping Moon, for a second there. So I usually try to tag the artists of those that create the decks that I use when I post on Instagram. So if you're ever curious about the cards I post, you can find them on there, or they're always linked on my website. But I realize sometimes Instagram is a little more accessible for folks, or you're going to actually end up there. So this one is the Three of Pentacles. So again, we are still in the earth sign. We are in groundedness. And I think of the threes as being often about collaboration. I like Three of Cups is like celebration or working together. So let's look up in here about Three of Pentacles. Yes, so it depicts the Western honeybee, which again is often the bee that we think of, which is Apis mellifera in Latin. The card indicates the beginning of a project, but one that requires teamwork. However, you play a role in this too, and it seems that your efforts are finally getting recognized. Let your skills and capabilities shine, but remember that your fate is currently tied to others. So upright, this card is about skill, teamwork, encouragement, collaboration, and organization. And if it were reversed, it would be more about lack of growth, carelessness, lack of teamwork, or lack of concentration. So again, this is sort of, right, we have these three, well, we have multiple bees on here. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this particular card of the Three of Pentacles. And again, honeybees are very much known for working together, right? Dividing up, like that idea of divide and conquer, that you can divvy up different chores or different things, so that more can get done in a certain amount of time. And again, pentacles are an earth sign about finances, your home, prosperity, material goods. Okay, and then finally, I pulled the Queen of Wands from the Goddess of Love tarot deck, made by Gabriella Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu. And on this depiction, we have the queen here. She sat in the middle. She has a rose in her hand. There are angels. There are sort of cupids above her holding a crown, like looking as if they're about to place it on her head. She is wearing a lot of gold, and then she's sort of like almost wrapped up in like a cape, but it's actually like a red rose. And then she basically has this like field of red roses in front of her, and there's multiple bees on this card as well, and actually looking like different kinds of bees. Some look like bumblebees, some look like honeybees, different kind of colors and iterations of black and yellow that we see there. Okay, so let's look in the Tarot Deck Guidebook and see what it has to say about this Queen of Wands card. So wands, right, are an air sign. No, wands are a fire sign. So the Queen of Wands the elemental correspondence would be water of fire, because queens are usually associated with water, and then wands are associated with fire. So the Queen of Wands generally demonstrates the potential to birth dimensions into existence through sacred chaos and calls you into self-awareness of the ways sexuality and love inspire you. She reminds you of the power of passion or anger to illuminate, catalyze, and transform. When you feel burning desire, orgasmic inspiration, or the violent urge to protect those you care about, the Queen of Wands is showing her face. This comes with responsibility, as the Queen of Wands is a guardian. She faces the force of her erotic power, claims it, and uses it to care for herself, for her family, and for her loved ones. When the Queen of Wands makes herself known, you are blossoming into your most visionary self. Honor your intimate partners as mirrors to the Goddess of Love within, and claim your erotic essence and sexual sovereignty. So the affirmation associated with this card is, I am a flame with my passions. I am an emblem and a vessel for unconditional love and lust. And the journal question associated with it is, how can I embrace my sexuality as something I am loyal to within myself? Which I love that. Again, with this, we just had the new moon in Leo on the 24th of July here, and that is a lot about passions, like Leo, also a fiery sign, also in this like the height of summer, at least where I am in the northern hemisphere, and also this like unending capacity, right? This is also about ourselves and embracing who we really are, which can be, right, our sexuality, like our sexuality with ourselves and sexual practices, but also just these larger ways of like abundance and manifestation that come through, and allowing ourselves to be seen, right? That is what Leo can really be about. Sometimes it's seen as the center of attention, but sometimes we need to be the center of attention, right? If we're giving a talk, like that's the point, right? If we are an expert in our subject matter, like that is the point. Like we should be standing up, we should be speaking out for things that we care about strongly, and also that we have a lot of knowledge and passion about. So I think this is very much aligned with this new moon in Leo as well. And it can be a little chaotic, right? Again, if you think of sparking a fire, a bonfire, friction, things that are needed to create fire, are a little spicy. Like they're a little, right? It can be like when you have friction with someone, it doesn't necessarily feel like a good thing. It can be, right? It can really spark something new and different. It can move things forward or at least shift them. But also it can just be challenging. So I get that there. All right, let's dive in and see what the cards have to say to this. So bees, what message do you have for us today? What else do we need to know? I'm trying to decide what deck to pull from. Let's see here. I think we're just gonna keep up with my newest deck. It's Grow Time deck by Chantel Davis Gray. I do have a special discount code, Goodness, GOODNES or NESS, all caps, that gets you free shipping and a discount for this card deck. It's Grow Time, 48 cards for do good, feel good business owners. And on the back of the cards, it will tell you whether it's a do good or a feel good. So some of them are more action based, and some of them are more like affirmation or inspiration based. Okay, so this is a feel good one. And I was at a networking meeting on Wednesday, and someone else pulled this card. So it says, I am not for everyone and not everyone is for me, right? I think that that's a great message for this time of year as well. Again, in Leo season, right? If we are going to speak on our subject matter, if we are going to be our authentic selves, that means I am not for everyone and not everyone is for me, right? Sometimes if we tend towards people pleasing, or we're perhaps silent about the things we care about or disagree with, sometimes there's a time and place for that. But a lot of the time, right, what we're trying to do is make ourselves more likable or pretend that we don't disagree with someone, because that seems easier when we don't want to create that friction, right? But again, in Leo season with this Queen of Wands, the friction is necessary, right? That's how we build fires. That's how we get to a place where the passion can kind of feed itself. And so if you aren't, right, if you're trying to be for everyone, often that means like you're not in that place of passion, because how could you be if you're trying to like be for every single person, right? You sort of have to meld yourself into different things. You have to be a chameleon and adapt in every situation, and maybe not, right, emphasize certain parts of yourself or others, right? This card is telling us like, no, don't do that. Just be okay with not being liked by some people, that I am not for everyone and not everyone is for me, and that's okay, right? My business coach was just telling me today how when you are bringing in clients or trying to, right, find people to work with or collaborate with, she always reminds me that you can't like scare the right people away, right? The right people are going to find you, and the ones that aren't into you or are haters, like, we just get to let them be over there. We don't have to fight them. We don't have to convince them to work with us. We don't really want them to work with us, right? The right people will find you and cannot, right? If you are being your authentic self, they cannot be scared away, because what they are drawn to is your authentic self, is that part of you that they are seeing when you allow yourself to be seen. So that's a great message for today. So just in closing, if you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, you can click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest to get more info. We'll be working together for 12 weeks of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot. And links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. And you can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.